Now, we are going to shift gears and talk about the technology that has captured everyone's imagination. Generative AI, the same one which runs ChatGPT. For many years, the AI we interacted with was mostly predictive AI. Its main job was to look at data and make a prediction or a classification. Is this picture a cat or a dog? Will this customer click on the ad? Will it rain tomorrow? It's about finding an answer that already exists in the patterns of the data. Generative AI is different. It represents a big shift from predicting to creating. Because it just doesn't find an answer, it generates a brand new one from scratch. You don't ask it, will it rain tomorrow? Instead, you say, write a story about rain. This ability to create text, images, code, and music is what makes this new era of AI so revolutionary. But how does it do this? The secret is that at its core, it is still a prediction machine. But it's a prediction machine on a whole new level. It's trained to do one thing incredibly well: predict the next word after you've given it a series of words. This is the revolutionary difference that makes AI so powerful. In traditional programming, we are to think of every possible situation and then write specific instructions for each one. It's like writing a detailed recipe that covers every possible variation. But with AI, we show the system many examples of what we want, and it figures out the patterns and rules by itself. Imagine trying to write traditional computer code to recognize if a photo contains a dog. You'll have to specify every possible shape, color, size, angle, and breed of dog, which is frankly just not possible. But with AI, you just show the system millions of photos labeled dog and not dog, and it learns to recognize dogs better than most humans can. This is why AI can handle complex real-world problems that traditional programming could not solve. Now, the engine behind text-based tools like ChatGPT is called a large language model, or LLM. Let's break down what that means. Now, imagine a librarian who has read every single book, article, and website in the world's biggest library, which is the internet. This librarian hasn't just read the words, they have learned the connections between them also. The style of a poem, the structure of a news report, the tone of a friendly email. Now, when you ask this librarian a question, they don't just go find a book for you. They use their immense knowledge to write a brand new original answer just for you on the spot. That, in essence, is an LLM, or a large language model. It's large because of the amount of data it's been trained on. So big that you wouldn't imagine it. Billions and trillions of words and information. It's a language model because its specialty is understanding the rules, nuances, context, grammar, and patterns of human language. And it's a model in the sense we just discussed, a complex mathematical system that represents all the patterns it has learned. But still, I hear you ask, how does an LLM AI read and write? After all, it doesn't see sentences and paragraphs the way we do. Instead, it breaks everything down into smaller pieces which are called tokens. Now, what are tokens? Think of tokens as the Lego blocks of language. A token is not necessarily a full word, like the or cat, but often longer words are broken down into smaller, more common pieces. For example, the word fascinating might be broken into two tokens, fascinate and ing. Even punctuation, like that comma or like an exclamation mark, is its own token. So a sentence that has 5 words for us, humans, might have 7 or 8 tokens for the AI. This is done because it's a very efficient way for the machine to handle language. It allows it to build a vocabulary of these common pieces and then assemble them in infinite ways to understand and create text, even for words it has never seen before. Now, why does this matter to you? Because every AI model, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or something else, has something called a context window, which is the maximum number of tokens it can remember at any given time. It is like a short-term memory. If your conversation gets too long and exceeds the token limit, the AI will start to forget what you talked about at the beginning. Have you ever had a chatbot forget your name or an instruction you gave it earlier? That is the token limit in action. What happened before generative AI or Gen AI came along? For a long time, AI struggled with understanding the context of long sentences. But in 2017, a breakthrough technology called the transformer changed everything. It's the secret sauce behind almost every modern LLM. But what does a transformer do? In simple terms, it gives the ability for an AI to pay attention. Imagine you hear the sentence, "The bee landed on the flower because it wanted nectar." To understand what it refers to, your brain instantly pays attention and links it back to the bee, not to the flower. You understand the context. The transformer architecture gives AI this exact superpower. It allows the model to look at all the words in a prompt at once and weigh their importance relative to each other. It figures out which words are most critical for understanding the context. The ability to understand relationships between words, even far apart in a text, is why models like ChatGPT can follow complex instructions, maintain a conversation, and generate text that makes sense. It is the technology that makes AI truly understand language and not just words. So how does a creative chef like a large language model get trained? You can think of it as a 3-stage education. First, we have what we call pre-training. This is like the chef's college education. They read every cookbook, food blog, and history book in the world to get a huge amount of general knowledge about food. The model does this by learning from nearly the entire internet. This is followed up by instruction fine-tuning. This is the chef's apprenticeship at a high-end restaurant. Now they learn to cook specific high-quality dishes by following exact instructions from the head chef. This is a smaller, more focused training phase using high-quality examples to teach the AI to be a helpful assistant. Third and finally, the LLM requires reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF. This is the restaurant's opening night. The chef now gets direct feedback from human tasters on thousands of dishes. This feedback helps fine-tune the AI's responses to be more helpful, safe, and aligned with what humans actually want. Now, let's understand the different types of learning better by the school textbook example. When you open any textbook, you'll see 3 major types of information. Number 1 is the background information or exposition, the meat of the textbook that explains concepts. As you attend over it, your brain is training on that data. This is equivalent to pre-training, where the model is reading the internet and accumulating background knowledge. 2, you see worked problems with solutions. These are concrete examples of how an expert solves problems. They are demonstrations to be imitated. This is equivalent to supervised fine-tuning, where the model is fine-tuning on ideal responses for an assistant written by humans. And the third thing you'll find are practice problems. These are prompts to the student, usually without the solution, but always with the final answer. There are usually many of these at the end of each chapter. They are prompting the student to learn by trial and error. They have to try a bunch of stuff to get to the right answer. This is equivalent to the reinforcement learning that we spoke about. So all this is very good, but what does ChatGPT mean? Why and how does this all come together in this generative AI model which we call ChatGPT? Well, the chat part of ChatGPT is about conversations because we have conversations with the AI. The G of ChatGPT stands for generative. Remember, we spoke about how rather than predicting something, it actually generates a new picture or music or a new text. The P is for pre-trained. And pre-trained was how it is pre-trained on the entire data of the internet. You know, how the chef was first pre-trained during his college years, reading about everything about food and the history of food, etc. The P stands for pre-trained. And the T is that miracle model or algorithm called the transformer. So in ChatGPT, chat is the conversation, G is generative, P is pre-trained, and T is transformer. Now, while this is a miraculous technology, the miracle, the best answers only come if you ask the right questions. So answers have become commodities. You keep on asking questions, ChatGPT keeps on throwing out wonderful answers. But the quality of the answers actually depends on the quality of the questions that you ask, what we call prompts. And asking these right questions is not only a function of how well you know language, how curious you are, how you can ask great questions, but is also an art and a science. And this art and science of asking the right questions or of giving the right prompts is what we call prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a key skill which lies at the heart of AI literacy and how to use AI and how to become great at using AI. To explain prompt engineering in more detail and how you can write great prompts, I will now introduce Anuj Magazine, who's going to come and tell you exactly how to write the best prompts.